Hey, what's up, everybody? Jazzbro Gonzo here. Another What's Next. Happy Tuesday. Well, what jumped at me yesterday? Couple stories in particular. One, of course, has to do with the NBA. And of course, as we all know, the NBA has gotten a black eye over the last couple of seasons with some of the worst ratings in its league's history during the playoffs and during the finals. And of course, it is all courtesy of those like Lebron James, Black Lives Matter, and of course, the dementia administration, and of course, just Democratic politics as always. And of course, we have to make sure we don't upset the Chinese. Yes, those Chi-Coms, we can't upset them because the monies. Speaking of the monies, one NBA owner has decided to insert himself back into the fray regarding China and its abuses, or the lack of caring of those abuses. Let's take a look. This comes out of Breitbart. NBA owner who says nobody cares about Uyghurs is Democrat mega donor. Chamath Palihapitiya. I'm probably mispronouncing his last name, and at this point I really don't care. The NBA team owner who told the podcast Saturday that nobody cares about the Uyghurs, about the genocide of China's Uyghur Muslim population, is a Democratic Party mega donor who has flirted with the idea of running for governor in California. I'm just going to call him Chamath. Let's make it easy. 45, the co-owner of the Golden State Warriors, told the All In podcast, never heard of it, had to look it up on YouTube to see what this podcast is about. That told he didn't really care about the Uyghur issue. Quote, during his All In podcast, Chamath waved off concerns about China's ongoing genocide against the Uyghurs, saying, quote, nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs. Now, context matters. Chamath, the CEO of the Society of Capital, which boasts that it calls its, quote, solving the world's hardest problems, shocked podcast host David Sachs when he dismissed concerns about the enslavement of millions of Chinese Uyghurs because he feels no one cares about them. Chamath went on to add that he has other priorities to worry about. Chamath is also a major donor to the Democratic Party, as Breitbart News reported last year. Chamath, the CEO of venture capital firm Social Capital, gave more than $1 million to the Democrats last election. Shocker, including $250,000 to Biden's Victory Fund, the Dementia Victory Fund. You know, the most ethical election ever ran in U.S. history. The Dementia administration distanced itself from Chamath's remarks on Monday. Surprised? No. Now, we go for that, his little background, to the comments that were made. This comes out of New York Post. Warriors owners Chamath, Uyghurs' remarks lacked empathy. Yes, I think he's going to say I'm sorry. Chamath, a venture capitalist who owns 2% of the Golden State Warriors, is walking back remarks. Yes, backpedaling. He can't backpedal fast enough, even if his name was Flash. Over the weekend, that no one cares about the genocide of the Uyghurs, Muslims in China, and neither does he. In re-listening to the week's podcast, I recognized that I came across lacking empathy, Chamath tweeted. I acknowledge that entirely. As a refugee, my family fled a country with its own human rights issues, so this is something very much part of my lived experience. To be clear, my belief is that human rights matter, whether it's China, the U.S., or elsewhere, full stop. The Uyghurs are an ethnic Muslim minority in China that has endured slave labor, rape, and forced sterilizations. Joe Dementia signed a bill in December that would prohibit the import of goods from Jiaxing region of China unless it could be proven that they were not produced by forced labor. Good luck with that, buddy. In the All In podcast, which Chamath is a co-host, he responded to the comments that President Dementia's defense of Uyghurs was admirable, but has not shown up in the polls. Enes Kanter, Freedom, Boston Celtic, NBA, who has been and very outgoing, very forward in his comments regarding China. Of course, one Lebron James tweeted, "When the NBA says we stand for justice, don't forget there are those who sell their soul for money and business, like Chamath, the owner of the Warriors, who says nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs. When genocide happens, it's people like this that let it happen. Shame." See the comments.
Nobody cares about. Nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs. Okay, you bring it up because you really care.
Wow.
And I think it's nice that you care.
Wow.
The rest of us don't care. I'm just telling you a very hard. I'm telling you a very. Don't care? I'm telling you a very hard, ugly truth. Okay, of all the things that I care about, yes, it is below my line. Okay, of all the things that I care about, it is below my line.
Disappointing.
Nobody cares.
Okay. Wow. 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 And to continue on, this is just real quick from Enes Kanter. Freedom's message against China continues to spur support from fellow NBA players. In a rare few in sports want to balance full-time position as a player and activist for human rights, full-time being the key. Boston Celtics center Enes Kanter Freedom has been a model for this type of two-way athlete, playing his 13th season in the NBA, consistently using his platform to bring insight and rights to violations instigated by the Chinese government, as we all know that the NBA and China are spooning each other. Ugh. Very, very disgusting. As China market provides great returns for NBA and its players, Kanter Freedom wants to separate himself from the group and hold the CCP accountable, hoping that people will find liberation as a result. He joined the Will Cain podcast on Fox to discuss his activism. The NBA vet shared that players still caution against the potential ramification by stepping up to China while coaxing him to promote his message. Added support, he has appeared in unsuspected cities, including a recent run-in with an unnamed teammate of Lebron James of the Los Angeles Lakers. One of his teammates, that Lebron, came up to me and said, "Dude, keep doing what you're doing. What you're doing is right. Don't give up," Kanter Freedom said. All right. Never heard of this Chamath dude. Never. He owns 20% of the Warriors. Never heard of him. For him to make the comment that nobody cares about the Uyghurs, he has a point. As I said in the beginning, it's about context. Now, on the grand scale, if you, Joe Jane Public of the U.S., if you put your top 10 of most concerns regarding what affects you personally, you may put, prices are out of control regarding food, gas, my kids' education, my work status, forced vax garbage, face diapers, those things that are going to affect you personally here in the U.S. So when he makes that comment, he's basically, I could look at it saying, well, he said it to make a point regarding his list. And he said it. He said on his list, it doesn't make the line. Average American looks at it and says, well, in my top 10 things, it may be 11. It may be 12. Who knows? It may be 5. You got people who are saying, hey, it may be my number 1. But the average American, in my opinion, doesn't look at it that way. Me, what affects me and my family, do I care? Yes, I do. Just got to have a heart about those whose human rights are being abused. And China is a known aggressor in regarding this. But yet the NBA still kisses the ass. General manager of the Houston Rockets, who supported the Hong Kong protests. Oh no, he got slapped down by Lebron James because Lebron James' foreign policy education is, I'm sorry, where was it again? Oh, that's right. It's not. And I'm sorry, where is Lebron James in regards to this? Because we've heard from Enes Kanter Freedom. Oh, he's quiet about this. Yeah. Other NBA players who've stood up, Greg Popovich of the San Antonio Spurs. I'm sorry, where are you? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. That's what I thought. The hypocrisy. The fucking hypocrisy. And of course, the dementia administration jumped away from this. Said, yeah, we're going to leave this alone. Of course, the Warriors have come out and said, well, he doesn't speak for the franchise. Interesting. Clownish. Absolutely fucking clownish. And with that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more just like this? Please do comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.